Hello there, silly little gay people in my computer. I hope you all are having a lovely day. I am doing alright. I know it's been a while since I put out my last video, but that's because I have been incredibly busy and also in the meantime working on a larger video that started out small but then very quickly spiraled out of control, so what else is new? I just kind of wanted to stop in. Say I've been playing Sonic Racing Crossworlds for a couple days now. I'm recording this on the Thursday, so like the game's official release date, but I got the digital deluxe edition, so I got to play a little bit earlier. I've really been enjoying the game so far. I kind of just wanted to get some of my thoughts out, and I don't know, something I found a little bit interesting, just go into some discussion about a specific mechanic in the game, the titular Crossworld mechanic. I kind of wanted to talk about how the Crossworlds mechanic kind of echoes a lot of the same design philosophies as Mario Kart World's like intermission tracks, but how it kind of understands what people want out of a kart racer a little bit better, and overall is just better designed to make the gameplay flow a little better. So before we get into that, just kind of general thoughts on both games. Don't get me wrong, I know this is kind of weird being my first Switch 2 video, and I just haven't had a good idea to make another one, but I kind of just wanted to go into this. So first off, impressions of both games. I mean, Mario Kart, it's Mario Kart. It's been months since the game came out at this point. Everyone knows that it's a pretty damn good game. Whether it's better than 8 Deluxe or not is up to your personal interpretation. Obviously, like, the biggest point of comparison between these two games is their controls. I think Mario Kart obviously has Crossworlds beat on pretty much every level when it comes to controls and handling and that sort of thing. The vehicles in Crossworlds feel a little bit too slippery, except weirdly enough if you're playing with the extreme gear, where the slipperiness feels actually pretty normal for the extreme gear, which are like the hoverboards from Sonic Riders. As a longtime Riders fan, I screamed, and it's not satisfying the Riders itch, but it's good to see it getting recognition. Anyway, yeah, Mario Kart definitely controls a lot better, but honestly, and I think like visually, Mario Kart just has a little bit more oomph to its animations, but I think overall, I think it might just be recency bias, but I honestly think I kind of prefer Crossworlds in a lot of ways. I think there's just a lot more fan service to the wider Sonic series, and I might just be a bigger Sonic fan overall, but I like the faster pace that the Sonic racing games have always kind of provided compared to Mario Kart. But I think overall, just like, the biggest thing is I think the Crossworld mechanic is much, much stronger than the open world mechanic of Mario Kart World. The open world in Mario Kart World is a great idea, and I think that Nintendo executes it really, really well, except they kind of don't, because when it comes to the intermission tracks, I mean, I'm sure by now if you're watching my channel, you've seen all the controversy of like people wanting to select 3-lap tracks explicitly in online races, and then Nintendo updating it to make it harder, but I didn't really notice that it was harder. It just seemed kind of normal to me, honestly, but I also didn't play that game online much, so I'm probably not knowledgeable enough to comment on that, but I think overall, like, those intermission tracks, a lot of people say, oh, it's straight line simulator, haha. I don't think that's accurate. I think that they have a lot more to them than a lot of people give them credit for. A lot of them are, like, very intentionally designed. Like, you can't look at the intermission tracks and say there wasn't thought put into the way that these were designed. Like, I know, yes, this is kind of, like, just proving the straight line comment, but, like, I really like that one that, like, it almost looks kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge, and, like, you get to, like, go up the rails, kind of like, ironically, like Radical Highway, but you get to grind up the rails and that sort of thing and glide in between the metal parts of the bridge. I think that's neat. But overall, I think that the biggest issue that the intermission tracks have in Mario Kart World is that a lot of them feel pretty samey. Like, there's not a lot of variety amongst the intermission tracks. Like, there's a handful of biomes in Mario Kart World, but the problem is that those biomes, there's not a lot of variety within them. So it's like, if it feels like you're going from, oh, I'm going from desert track to city track, from city track to ice track. And it's like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of variety in those tracks, where it's like, if you're going from one course to another course, it feels like you're taking the same route over and over, and then maybe you'll get to make a different turn along the way. Whereas, here we have the Crossworlds, which kind of, like, reinterpret, instead of having, like, an open world mechanic, they just say, fuck it, here's, like, the goddamn warp rings, and now you can go anywhere. And I think that like, there's a lot more intentional design when it goes into that, because the way the mechanic works is that it like, so you have at the end of, for those who haven't played the game, at the end of the first lap, the player in first gets to like go on the left side or the right side of the track. One of them will have a warp ring to a specific Crossworld stage, which is like just another track basically. And then the other side will have a random one. Now, the Crossworlds are always going to be one of these 15 specially designed courses that don't really have a set like starting line and finish line. They don't have that traditional loop-like structure that most racetracks have in a kart racing game. They kind of have a set start and an end point, but they don't necessarily loop back around to each other. So they're able to get a little bit more creative with the track designs. And there's like 15 of them. I think, honestly, some of those tracks are fantastic. Like, you've got like Digital Circuit from Shadow the Hedgehog, which is awesome. You have the only rider stage in the game, which is White Cave. So I freaked out about that when I saw it. And then you have like Cyberspace from Sonic Frontiers with probably one of the best remixes in that entire soundtrack. And the game has a fantastic soundtrack, by the way. Both of them do, honestly. They're both great soundtracks. So it has a chance of being one of those specially designed Crossworlds, or if you pick the random ring, it'll randomly pick one of any of those Crossworlds, or just any of the other full-on tracks in the game. And so you'll race through that Crossworld, and then when you get to the end of it at the second lap, you'll come back to the same track on the third lap, to the original track. But some tracks might have some slight design changes, like maybe some new shortcuts have opened up. It's nothing as drastic as like Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, where you have like the Panzer Dragoon track that's like completely different on every single lap. But it's still like a nice touch, and I think that like those are the couple elements that make it work so much better than Mario Kart World's intermission tracks. Is that you come back to the original track, so you have like more time on the track that you selected when you started the race, or if you're in a Grand Prix, the track that you are, say, when you see the title of the track, this is the track you're playing on, you have more time on that track, if that makes sense. So it's like if you go into Mario Kart World and you pick, oh, I want to play on, I don't know, Toad's Factory. You want to play on Toad's Factory, but then what realistically ends up happening if you're playing online or you're playing with the intermission tracks enabled is that like you just end up meandering along for a lap, a quote-unquote lap, it's more like sections. You meander along for a section, and then the last section is like a lap on the actual track you wanted to race on. I honestly feel like the intermission tracks in Mario Kart would just be better if you did like 2 laps once you got to the track instead of just 1. But like, I feel like then people might complain that the races are too long, but I think the Crossworlds kind of mitigate that because you always come back to the track at the end. You come back to the original track, and then also it's changed in some way. So it still has that little bit of spice that you need to keep it fresh. And then, of course, the fact that the Crossworlds can be anything. It's going to be different every time you play it. Like, yeah, you'll run into repeat Crossworlds. There's only, like, 35 or so options for it to be when you go through a warp ring, or maybe it's more closer to 40. But, like, because it's going to be one of those 15 Crossworlds or one of, like, the 24 main tracks in the game. But I think that that's still, like, if you pick the random one, you still have like a 1 in 40 chance. And then there's also the element of, I want to be in first at the end of the first lap so I can pick where we go. I think that's really neat. And I think that it adds a lot of variety to the game that like a kart racer like this desperately needs. And that variety, even if I think like mechanically speaking, on a pure racing level, Mario Kart World is stronger. I think Crossworlds honestly has the better aesthetic variety. It feels a lot more arcadey is how heard a lot of people put it, and I agree with that. I really agree that this feels like an arcade racer. This feels like if I went and played one of the arcade Mario Kart games, oddly enough. Like, I think that the Crossworld mechanic on its own kind of sells me on the game. It's like, if I want to play a kart racer, I'll probably go to Crossworlds over Mario Kart just because of that. And the fact that I'm probably a bigger Sonic fan, and then also there's the Extreme Gear, because Sonic Riders Zero Gravity was the first game I ever owned, and I have a problem with that series. I will probably do a retrospective on that at some point in the future. The idea's been formulating in my head, and I'm losing my mind. Anyway, all that to say, Sonic Crossworld's good, Mario Kart also good. If you agree with me, like, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Maybe try that new hype feature YouTube's been trying to roll out. Like, apparently it's like a little thing that'll pop up. I've only ever seen it on mobile, but it's like, you can press the button and it'll boost the video in the algorithm. Apparently it works better for small creators. I haven't seen any evidence of whether it actually works or not, but worth trying because YouTube is gonna YouTube right now. I'm trying to do my best. I'm streaming again on Twitch. Check my Blue Sky for the schedule. It's kind of on and off because I'm doing grad school right now. And I have classes in the evenings sometimes, inconsistently. It's weird. Anyway, you all have a lovely day. I'll see you in my next video, whether that is the long form one I've been working on or another one of these short little unscripted ones. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.